Since the initiation season started, 28 initiates have died since the beginning of this year's summer initiation season. Dehydration, negligence, pneumonia, septicemia, as well as wounds being septic are being believed to be contributing factors to the fatalities. The ages of the young men who lost their lives during Ulwaluko traditional male circumcision process range between the ages of 16 and 27 years of age. So to give us an update on this crisis, we're joined virtually by the Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, or CoGTA, Velenkosini Hlabisa. Minister, good morning, and thank you for making time to be with us here on the SABC at this hour.
Good morning, Lizel, as well as the viewers of SABC this morning.
Thank you, Minister. I mean, we're obviously looking at the 28 deaths that have occurred to date. Many initiates having lost their lives over the years, participating in traditional male circumcision processes. But there have also been many interventions, including new regulations. But yet we still have this crisis in curbing the deaths. You know, at this point, we're wondering, is government losing the war against the unscrupulous initiation schools? What's your take at this point?
Thank you very much, Lizel. Really, it is very sad on the side of the government and on the side of the parents who lost their children, because in some of them, it was the only child a parent have, a breadwinner, and these are the leaders who are going to lead our country in the future. You are correct. A lot of regulation is in place to ensure that no more deaths are experienced. Now, in other parts of the country, if you go to other provinces, we are no longer experiencing a problem of such a high number of deaths, except in Eastern Cape. And in Eastern Cape, not all initiation schools experience deaths. There are many schools over 21 years with 0 deaths, but very few schools, and they are concentrated in very few districts: OR Tambo, Amatole, Chris Hani. And our approach going to winter season, because the summer season is almost over now.
Yes.
We had an intensive meeting over the past 2 days assessing the causes, and then we agreed, because our approach was close down the schools with consistent deaths going forward. And the request from all stakeholders was, can the government plan with them for winter season, and we will target the areas with high death rate. We will put all systems in place and closely monitor on a daily basis. And should we experience any death, just number 1 death, we will act swiftly. And the only option will be shut down that initiation school, because it will not be doing things the right way.
Okay, so Minister, thank you for those opening remarks. I mean, as we all know, 1 death is 1 death too many. And as you alluded to this past weekend, you did undertake an emergency ministerial initiation oversight in the Eastern Cape province. And so in lieu of that, I mean, to date, we've now seen, as of the past weekend, 28 initiates have lost their lives. These are, you know, individuals who range between the ages of 16 and 37. Have any people been arrested as we speak?
Yes, Lizel, 27 cases were open by the 27th of December, and 23 arrests had been made to date, and we are going to follow closely the 23 arrested people in their cases, as well as the outstanding, including the additional one, which makes 28. And we are intending, Lizel, after I have made my submission to the president, we are intending to request the president to appoint a commission, because over 6 years is 253 deaths, 52 amputations, and there are children who commit suicide. We need to go deeper, why they commit suicide, engage parents, understand better, and hold accountable all the initiation schools that were responsible to this one, so that we set a tone going forward that if we want a zero rate, we mean it, and any death will be followed through deeply and consequence management follow.
Because justice and accountability is key. And so as we're speaking, what support has government offered to the families who've been affected to date?
The provincial government has provided sufficient support varying from family to family, and other families could hang on their own, their responsibilities when a family member dies, but the government, because it has all the details per each family and per each child, it was close to provide support. But I must say, Lizel, this culture is a community culture which is owned by the community in a society. And when death occurs, it does not become a problem of the government or a problem of the individual family. It becomes a collective challenge for the whole area. Therefore, they share the responsibility in terms of facing the cost of burying a lost child.
Well, thank you for those remarks, Minister, because we're also trying to understand those who have been affected that haven't died yet. But when we look at what has transpired beyond death, there's causes of death include dehydration, negligence, pneumonia, septicemia, but also just the wounds turning septic. And so there's also the issue about improper health care as well. And so when we're looking at how many are recovering in hospitals around the Eastern Cape at this point, have these initiation schools been closed as we speak following your ministerial meeting as well?
5 illegal initiation schools were closed by the 25th of December during Christmas time, and we are following up even to the remaining, because there is just a few initiates who are yet to complete their session. And we will ensure going forward in winter, there shall be zero illegal school, because these illegal schools follow no protocol. But going forward, the Minister of Health is on standby. I made an arrangement with the Minister of Health and MEC in Eastern Cape that medical doctors will be available anytime as I left a day before yesterday, when they request them to visit the remaining initiation schools to ensure and to check up the children who are there, how are they coping health-wise, so that a referral can be done immediately. And this is one area that we will be concentrating. There is a false belief that if you drink water, you don't heal quickly, which is not true, and which is a main cause for many deaths, because dehydration becomes a bigger problem if they stay for 3 weeks not drinking water, and eventually only to find that even if you try to give them water, it's too late, and unfortunately they lose their lives.
And so, Minister, in view of all that has transpired to date, would you personally encourage parents to continue sending their young men to initiation schools? What should they then be looking out for if we're looking at some of the risks associated to date?
Firstly, parents should not allow their children to be taken by illegal schools, because there is no protocol there. There are schools, Lizel. For instance, there was one which was mentioned by name for 21 years. It enrolls more than 200 initiates with zero death in a record of 21 years. And there are so many of them. Now, culture is too deep in every community, Lizel. We encourage parents, but they must ensure that the school is a registered one. And on daily basis, the parent, a father, an uncle, a male person is allowed to visit daily to observe the progress and identify any challenge, so that the initiate can be referred for medical assistance quickly. The government will be on board at a bigger scale in winter, because we all agreed that we want to achieve zero death rate, and the fathers, the parents, the uncles, the males agreed that they will collectively take a responsibility, because some of the initiates are born by female girls, some of them who are single mothers, who are not allowed in terms of culture to go and check how her child is coping, and all that is going to be taken going forward, and the male people will take a full responsibility. And if all doesn't work, those areas will not be allowed to continue practicing the initiation culture, except those that will be having zero death will be allowed to continue with this tradition.
Okay, so Minister, the initiation schools, I mean, right of reply from them is also important. And so following the ministerial meeting this weekend, and also you alluding to the fact that most of the deaths are from the Amatole, the Chris Hani and Alfred Nzo districts, what's been their response? What's been the response from the initiation schools in these districts in particular?
Yes, they admitted, because figures do not lie. The leaders with whom I was engaged, they did concede to the fact that indeed these are areas. But what became more clear, illegal schools are a major cause, and false belief in the legal schools, like for instance, that the initiates must not drink water. This is what contributed into a number of children dying. The second thing also, the stigma that if you use medication, like for instance, many children have some chronic illnesses. If you bring your medication to the initiation school, other initiates, they think you are not man enough. And only to find that a person who knows I'm not fit health-wise and I have this chronic illness will leave the medication at home, and that eventually that will complicate. There are cases where we discovered that the child was on medication, a chronic medication, he left it at home. When things complicated, by the time they collected it, it could not help. So now we identified all these areas. Going forward, we will have clear statistics. Every child must have been screened. Every parent must sign the parental consent, must indicate what illness a child has, and the medication must go to the initiation school so that we avoid unnecessary deaths.
All right, Minister, we are obviously closely monitoring the situation, perhaps as the rest of December unfolds, but also as we edge closer to the winter initiation period. I want to thank you at this hour for joining us here on the SABC and for that update. Minister of Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs, or CoGTA, Velenkosini Hlabisa, this morning giving us an update on some of the interventions being undertaken to curb more initiation deaths. This comes after 28 initiates lost their lives since the beginning of this year's season.